Hoist the flag and raise your axe. A world of danger and adventure awaits Bravely Default's Pirate. The Pirate specializes in dishing out powerful blows against any enemy with ease. The Pirate is also capable of taking hits and crippling foes with a vast array of debuffs, allowing them to rig a battle in their team's favor with no regard for playing fair. So, let's begin by talking about the Pirate's specialty, Adrenaline Rush. This specialty will raise the Pirate's physical attack and defense by 50% for 5 turns when their HP falls below 20%. The Pirate's physical strength is already so high that they don't ever really need any aid in that department, so the real bonus here is from the defense increase. Pirates naturally have a decent HP and vitality stat, making them pretty tanky from the get-go, but being able to boost that on their own is pretty powerful. The HP requirement for this specialty is sort of a double-edged sword though, as you will most likely see a few of your party members fall low on health in a tough battle, but it is a risk to try and play around any of your allies being low on HP. Take the bonus when you can, but don't rely on it. Switching over to talking about the Pirate's combat abilities, first up are their MP Eating Strike abilities. This includes double damage and amped strike. Double damage does exactly what it says in the name, dealing double the damage of a regular attack. Due to the Pirate's high physical attack stat, and with axes being their weapon of choice, double damage can hit some pretty absurd damage numbers very early into the game, and is one of the easiest ways of hitting the damage cap before the late game. Note that it is very MP hungry, so have Turbo Ethers or Salve Maker on standby to replenish that resource. Amped Strike is an even more powerful version of double damage, dealing 4 times the damage of a regular attack. Amped Strike is pretty much a free 9,999 damage button, being able to effortlessly deal maximum damage, but at the cost of taking half of the Pirate's MP bar to use. These attacks are insanely powerful, but due to their high MP cost, I would suggest taking the time to get the Swordmaster's free lunch ability to mitigate the MP cost altogether. Otherwise, the windows in which you can use these attacks become severely limited. Next is Provoke. This ability will raise the chances of the user being hit by single target attacks to the highest value. This is a decent way of trying to manage incoming damage from powerful attackers, but it does have a few holes. For one, Provoke doesn't have a guaranteed chance of working, meaning that there is a chance for it to miss a key enemy, or even all of them. Second, even if Provoke does land, the affected enemy still has a small chance of targeting someone else, as Provoke only increases the chance of being targeted. Even with these two negatives though, having a means of managing damage in a tough battle can make or break an encounter, especially if you outfit your pirate to be a tanky debuffer. And speaking of debuffs, let's get into the pirate's main gimmick, their debuff attacks. The pirate has a total of 5 of these attacks, with each of them correlating to a specific stat that can be lowered. None of these attacks do crazy damage, but what makes them so strong is the effect tied to it. With Shell Split and Scale Strip, you can lower an enemy's physical defense and magical defense by 25%, benefiting all damage dealers like the pirate or other attackers. Shin Smash lowers an enemy's speed, which can work wonders against late-game bosses who commonly have an absurd agility stat. Defang and Skull Bash lower the attack power of an enemy, effectively giving your party more survivability. The Pirate's Kit alone can supply enough debuffs to act as your party's support job if you so desire, and the MP cost for these skills isn't very high, allowing the Pirate to consistently keep these debuffs applied throughout a long battle without much issue. The only major weakness of these skills are that they are only single target, meaning you need to pick the enemy you wish to attack and debuff wisely. Next up is Mass Attack. For 1 BP, the Pirate will attack an enemy, and then command all allies with less than 20% maximum HP to attack alongside them. This doesn't count as an action for those attacking, just for the one commanding. Keep that in mind. On paper, Mass Attack seems like the ultimate desperation move, as it gets stronger the more allies are nearing death. But unless the rest of your party have powerful regular attacks, Mass Attack might not be worth the BP to use. But this doesn't mean there isn't a way of making Mass Attack useful. If you build your entire team around starting a battle at low HP, outfit them all as powerful attackers, and make them all use Mass Attack, you can end battles in one turn, no problem. Of course, that strategy removes a lot of what makes making teams fun, but if you really want to tear into the super bosses and final battles that the game has to offer, Mass Attack could be a way of doing so. Now we've come to Berserk. This ability is quite easy to understand, as it applies the Berserk status to the pirate, meaning that their physical attack stat is increased by 50%, but they cannot be commanded to do anything else other than landing regular attacks. This is probably the one time I will ever say that not only is a combat ability worthless, but it also actively hurts the pirate to use. Not being able to control your character means you can't save up their BP, or keep them from attacking an enemy you don't want them to. Of course, you can always dispel the ailment, but then it defeats the whole purpose of this skill. Unless there's some crazy strategy that you can pull off with Berserk, stay away from it, it's useless. Lastly, we have Torrent. Torrent costs 2 BP and counts as a physical water attack, dealing damage based on the accuracy of the attack. Because of this, I want to make a special mention to the Ranger's support ability, Hawkeye, which can aid the pirate in ensuring that Torrent deals as much damage as possible. Because Torrent's damage can also be considered water damage, keep that in mind when going up against enemies with a water weakness or high physical defenses, as it might become your best damage option without needing to do any preparation. Torrent mostly acts as an alternative to double damage or amped strike if you don't want to dump your MP into a powerful move. Mimic works wonders with this attack as well. So, first up on support abilities is Adrenaline Rush. The pirate doesn't fully benefit from the bonuses that this ability brings naturally, so how about other jobs? Honestly, not really. Being low on HP is usually not something you want to actively work towards, even on jobs that spend their own HP to deal damage, so triggering the effects of Adrenaline Rush is still clunky. My advice of using the benefits of the ability but not going out of your way to obtain them still holds, but if you want to be on low HP for most of an encounter, then run this ability. Second up is Physical Attack 20% up. This is a powerful support ability, as a 20% boost for only 2 support slots can help almost any attack job hit the damage cap comfortably. Keep this ability in mind when designing your attack or job builds, as it can easily be a filler spot if you have nothing else to run on them. Lastly, we have Axe Lore. This is one of the more useful lore abilities, as axes have the highest damage output of any weapon if paired with two-handed. Given that most of the later axes have extra effects tied to them, including Nerende Village, but also some of the endgame dungeons, you can put this weapon on a phantom weapon user and have them raise hell against your enemies. Even if you aren't planning on running a phantom weapon build, slotting axes on a physical attacker who focuses on using combat abilities can also be amazing, especially if the axe you have equipped has a built-in bonus like the Death Axe's kill spell or the Earthbreaker's earth damage. This and Knuckle Lore are usually your go-to for maximum damage output on almost any job regardless of the role, be it a caster, a healer, a damage dealer, physical or magical wise. So, how does Pirate fare as a main job? Well, for starters, the Pirate has access to a lot of tools that give it the ability to play multiple ways. You can slot the job into a full damage roll, pairing it with the Freelancers for Mimic, or Merchant for low leverage, as pretty much any attack you use with the Pirate will hit the damage cap effortlessly. You can build the Pirate to be a tank, relying on Provoke and its debuffs to keep enemies in check during a stressful encounter. I've even seen players outfit this job to play a support role, supplying debuffs with their attacks while falling back on songs or genome abilities when they have enough BP. Having a multitude of options at your disposal does wonders for this job, and it allows you to get creative with it. But there are some limits that you need to keep in mind. MP and speed are a big weakness of this job, as you have to determine whether or not you want to use your MP for debuffs or big attacks. And the Pirate is also not the fastest, meaning that you'll have to lean into giving the job a boost in agility if you want to debuff an enemy before their attacks go off. It isn't that big of a deal, but it is an extra step that you need to worry about. The Pirate as a sub-job doesn't really change all that much, as the debuffs it provides will still apply even if you have them on a white mage that does 2 damage. All you need to do is make contact and the debuffs will apply. MP management doesn't get much better for double damage and amp strike, but the debuff attacks can become more of a non-issue than they already were. Also, the mass attack cheese strategy still exists. Though, because the pirate has the highest physical attack stat in the game, trying to replicate its damage output on any other job, especially under the effect of low leverage, becomes much harder. If you want a powerful pirate attacker, use it as a main job, not a sub-job. And here we are, the fashion tier list. As always, let's take a look at the boys' designs first. Both Tiz and Ringabel look like a very romanticized version of a pirate, sporting a huge hat, dark blue vest, and an eye patch with a skull on it. Very classy. It's a very adventurous look. And since the pirates we see in Bravely Default are more adventurous and less about robbing and plundering, giving them this very dramatic feel fits them very well. High A tier for the boys. The girls once again have a wonderful design, taking the style of the boys' pirate outfits and turning it up to 11. The red coat and white skirt mesh very well together, and the skull on their hats also share an eye patch, which will alternate depending on who is using the job. So cool! Once again, this feels like an outfit made for sailing the high seas, finding adventure everywhere you look. With the added eye patch on the skull, our lady pirates find themselves in S tier. Congratulations.